Geula Mamas, it's Tzivi here. I hope you're doing well today. Welcome to the Geula Mamas show. Earlier this week, we spoke to the amazing Sarah Maiman. She is a nurse and she works in Tipat Halav here in Israel, which is where you take little babies and you get their immunizations, they get checked up, check how they're growing. And Sarah taught us everything about immunizations, and she tried really hard to keep her own personal opinions out of it. But we did discuss decisions that she's made with her own children, the decisions that I've made with my children. But at the end of the day, it is so important for you to make the decision that is right for you. And I think that I really want to talk about judging and shaming. Judging and shaming is such a big deal in today's days. Baruch Hashem, I really have very little experience with it. I'm not into these young mommy groups, and I'm not a chit-chatty person. I'm a little bit antisocial on social media, so I don't really get into things. But I have seen it and I have heard about it a lot. And I would like to talk about where that's coming from, okay? In the olden days, people tended to live in villages. They didn't really usually move far away. And if they moved far away, it might be to a remote place, right? To explore new lands or to settle where you didn't have a lot of people around. In general, the culture was that someone would do what their parents did. And I'm not just talking about, Jewish Masorah or something. That's how the world worked. If your parents, your village, your family had certain customs, just the way they did things, people would generally continue to do things that way without a whole lot of thought, okay? One of the brachas, for good, for bad, in today's world, the way we live, is that each of us has the opportunity to do our investigating, to make our decisions. You do still see sometimes in cultures that are more insular, that don't really have technology or the internet or something, you oftentimes will see where, daughters will birth and raise their children the way their mother did, the way their community does. But even in those situations, let's say more Haredi, more closed society, it's not the same. It's not the same. Even just there's books, there's information, there's an air in the world today of investigate, make your own decisions, maybe, carve your new path, be your own Christopher Columbus, explore new horizons. And it seems like that must be a good thing because so many good things have come into the world because of it. And I feel like it must be a bracha from Hashem, right? It's so good. But with everything that's good, there's a new Yetzer Hara that comes along with it. And one of those Yetzer Haras is this idea of judging or shaming somebody else, right? And so let's put this into an example, okay? Me, my family, we are a ketogenic family, which means that we do not eat carbohydrates. We do not eat bread, we do not eat pasta, we do not eat potatoes. We might want to eat those things, right? But we don't for specific health reasons. Each person who's on board with this is doing it for their own specific reasons. So I have even my youngest children, my youngest daughter just turned 9, but she's been ketogenic for over a year. She has something called childhood epilepsy, and we use the diet instead of medication for her. And I made this decision. I was not told to do this by a specific doctor or anything. I've done all of the investigating myself. And then I told the doctor. It's sort of a backwards route, But that means that she goes to school and she doesn't eat treats. She doesn't eat all the candies that they give out in Israeli schools, right? Even on her birthday. For her, you can't even cheat sometimes because she would have a seizure. So it's not worth it. It's not worth it for her. She doesn't enjoy having seizures. So along with that, in order to help my young children forget about myself. Or even in order myself, I'm walking through the grocery aisle and the fresh baked goods are there and the beautiful displays of chocolates, and it's everywhere around me, right? The bakery, the smells sometimes, especially if you accidentally shopped hungry, right? So they want you to crave it, and sometimes it works. Thank goodness, with the ketogenic diet, your body adjusts and you don't really have the same cravings that you would. You wouldn't be able to fight that constantly. So Baruch Hashem, you don't have to. But it's still hard. It's still hard. So one of the things that I do is I imagine the nasty things that would be doing to my body. Or I tell my children, oh, that's so sad that those children are eating, that candy with the food coloring. What is it doing to their body? We get a little bit food snobby. I try not to go into it too much, and I do try to teach them not to judge and never ever to shame. I mean, my goodness, But in order to keep ourselves safe and healthy and balanced, we dip a little bit into that area, right? So, and I'm doing it very, very consciously with a lot of thought, but I understand where it's coming from. So if I were to imagine myself as a person who has not been working for years on self-development and control and shmirat halashon and all of the amazing things that Baruch Hashem I've been exposed to, I'm just your average person. I have these kids, and I've searched the internet, and I've decided to vaccinate or not vaccinate, to feed my children sugar or not feed them sugar, to be on paleo diet, to school my children or not school my children, to send them to all of the decisions that I'm making that nobody would have been making in the olden days, right? Everything that we're doing today as a parent, as a consumer, as a human being living in the modern world is decision-based, right? I'm living where I'm living on purpose, not because I was born here, not because I can't get a train out of town. The places we're living are usually on purpose. The things that we're doing, even if I am living in a place or I am sending to a school just because that's where it is, and there certainly is a certain amount of that today. I think for Balei Tshuva, it's even less because we've made the decision to be from. So for me, my parents made the decision, but I was a child growing up as a teenager, and there was a lot of decisions that I had to make, right? So we have even less of that natural, just go with the flow thing. But even if you do, there's still so many decisions that we're making on a daily basis. And with every single decision to choose one thing over another thing, we are saying in our mind that other thing is bad. And the more difficult it is, like, a certain lifestyle or vaccinations, it's a very big decision to not vaccinate your child, because vaccinations, you're going with the flow of society. But if somebody decides not to vaccinate their child, so I could see how these fights could break out, right? Because one person has to put a lot of effort and a lot of belief into a big decision not to vaccinate. The other person, you might have a person in the middle who's not vaccinating because they've never thought, who is vaccinating because they haven't even thought about it. But you have another person here who is vaccinating because they have thought about it and they have made that decision. And I could see how one person would feel that the other one, the vaccinating person, might feel that the non-vaccinating person is going to destroy society, whereas the non-vaccinating person could feel that the vaccinating person is going to destroy society. And maybe a little less so, but still, in order to have those decisions and be strong in our decisions, we're automatically putting the other person down because we've looked at that path and we've decided that it's a bad path or it's not a good path, right? If I decide, I was a homeschooler for 5 years in America, okay? Before I made Aliyah, I sent my kids to school, I homeschooled, I made Aliyah, I decided to send them to school, right? So in order to homeschool your children, a lot of effort has to go into that, right? The more effort we put into those decisions that we make, the more likely we are to think that another person's decisions are bad or wrong. And some of it, I'm certain, I know, comes from a place of being unsure, having a little bit of an issue with our own personal self-esteem, doubting ourselves, not being 100% sure of our own decisions. Again, let's say, I'm doing the ketogenic diet with my kids, right? So if I wasn't 100% sure, it's hard on a daily basis. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort to do this. And I think the more we're not sure about it, the more we just naturally pull those judgments towards us to say, no, the thing I'm doing is right and other people are wrong and that's really poison and that's really terrible. Baruch Hashem, I do not do that on purpose, though. I'm not saying that it isn't tempting sometimes, right? To say, look at those kids, look at what they're eating, it's really terrible. No, I say to my kids, this is how it is, this is the information in the world. Let's look at it as, bad or poison, but we know it isn't really. This is the decisions people make. I try to make it chilled out because I don't want them to grow up judging or shaming or, piping up in class. They always have when their teachers teach about health, right? So they're always saying bread is the most important and you have to have a certain amount of fruits and vegetables and vitamins. And after some experiences, Baruch Hashem, it wasn't too bad, but I have talked with my kids about just be quiet. Just be quiet. And mommy used to say the same thing once upon a time. This is what's in the world. Just be quiet. So I guess it's good that they're learning this early on. So hopefully with Hashem's help, they won't be the type of people who are judgy and who are shaming. But I can see how easily it comes into the world in today's information age. And if somebody is judging or shaming, it doesn't say anything about you, right? If you've decided to make a decision and somebody is putting you down, is trying to put you down, to realize that it's coming from their place, it's coming from their issues, right? And hopefully you're not judging, you're not shaming, but understanding where it's coming from. It's coming from their insecurities, their maybe not being 1,000,000% sure of their decisions, because again, there's no black and white. If there was black and white, these decisions would be easy. Almost everything in our world, it's not 100% clear, right? So if they are not 100% sure, 1,000,000% sure in their decision, and even if they are, but I think more so when they're not, the more judgy or shamey a person is, I think is directly connected. I'd love to do a scientific study, directly correlated, directly connected with how sure they are of their decision. I think that when people are less certain of their decision, they tend to be more judgy and more shamey because they're trying to prop themselves up, right? By putting you down, somehow that props them, personally it props themselves up because they feel better than you now. So since they aren't able to raise themselves up naturally, they get that high, shall we say, by putting you down. If you push everyone down, now you are happy and above everyone else and you can sleep comfortably. You can sleep well at night knowing that you are the best parent. You're doing the best thing for your children. There is no such a thing as doing the best thing for your children. The best thing you can do is to do the best you can every day and take care of yourself and love them and just walk in Hashem's ways. There's no perfection here, right? That is Olam Hazeh. That is what we live in. And Baruch Hashem, my oldest daughter is turning 28. So I feel like as a savta, as a mom of older kids, 28, 26, 25, right? I've seen these stories go through their things. We do the best we can. And as Sarah said, we let go and we let Hashem take care of it, right? Do your best and let Hashem take care of the rest. So with that thought, I wish you well. You should have a great day. And remember that Hashem loves you and that I love you and you're doing a great job. Bye.